So I'm here with Uncle Rus. So thank you for your time, Uncle Rus. I understand that you're a bit upset at the, as you call him, the dishing out guy, going to be releasing a steak video. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
He has no steak experience. He's never even been in the steak category.
Oh, I see. And you have?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I've had over 40 steaks in the past 30 days.
Oh, my goodness. Well, forgive the bloody awful pun, but what really is your beef with the dishing out guy? I mean, why not just set the record straight?
Not to worry. The record will be set straight.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience?
Stay tuned.
Well, hello friends. I am here on assignment in the kitchen of my friend here, Uncle Rus, and we're here to have a steak reckoning. Now, how you cook your steak is completely up to you, but it's important to know that at different temperatures, the steak is going to taste and feel very different in your mouth. And you probably already have some preferences, but when it comes to cooking at home, temperature is the most important guide to how done your meat is. So with that, Uncle Rus, why don't you tell our friends here the general guidelines for temperature when cooking a steak?
So really the temperatures go by sort of scale, so about 10 degrees. Now, if you're anywhere about 120 degrees or under, it's raw. So it's really not cooked to that point. Now, if that's your thing, go for it, but I'd recommend going a little higher. Now, between 120 and 130, this is what we call a rare steak. It's going to have a lot of liquid. It's still going to be a little bit cool. Now, in my opinion, the next level, 130 to 140, this is the sort of the golden mark for a steak. And this is medium rare. And I really think that's what you should go for. Obviously, it's all preference, but medium rare between 130 and 140. For my money, it's perfect. Now, 140 to 150, this is where we hit medium, a little bit more done. 150 to 160, this is medium well, what we call it. Starting to get a little bit more dry, a little bit more done, less pink in the middle. Then if we go anywhere 160 or above, this is what we call a well done steak. Now, look, I can't tell you how to eat your steak. If you do a well done steak, just get out. No. It's not for you. It's not for you if you want a well done steak. Now, this is all an opinion thing. That's my opinion. That's his opinion. That's a lot of people's opinion. You do you, but medium rare, maybe to a medium, that's got to be your ideal range right there.
Totally agree. Let's talk about cooking methods. All right, when it comes to cooking a steak, there's as many methods out there as there are people in the planet. But there's, I think, a couple that lend themselves to low stress and low likelihood of screwing up this piece of meat that you've probably spent a little more money than you do on average for. So the first of those would be using an immersion circulator or cooking it sous vide. That's how Uncle Rus likes to cook his steak, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that.
So sous vide, the immersion circulator, to me, I call this is like the cheat code for steaks. And the reason I say that is because you have a device here, this immersion circulator or sous vide, as we said, and you have the ability to set this to whatever temperature of your choosing, and it heats up a bath of water. So we've got this tub here. This is a food grade plastic tub, perfect for what we call sous vide. So you take your steak, you actually put it in a tightly sealed bag, you lower it into a tub of water, insert your sous vide, and choose your desired temperature. Now, it is going to cook the steak to that temperature over a period of time. It's just that easy.
It is. And while it is easy, it is also going to involve some special equipment, which not everyone has in their kitchen. Now you can get this stuff, the sous vide machine and the container probably for $100 or less depending on sale prices. But again, not everyone's cup of tea. The other way that you can guarantee yourself that perfect temperature through and through is just a standard reverse sear. For that method, we're going to set our oven to 250 degrees. We're going to go ahead and get the steak in there, and we're going to monitor its temperature either with a wireless probe thermometer or just by checking it, every few minutes after, a half hour or so. Once it's hit the mark that we're going to set for it, we're going to pull it out, let it rest, and then with both that steak and the one we cook in the sous vide, we're going to sear the hell out of them and get that delicious golden brown crust on the outside that everyone is after. So I have here two 1 pound or 16 ounce ribeyes that are actually cut from the same piece of meat so that we can kind of see which method we prefer. Now with either one of these, and actually even if you're just going to be cooking them in a pan, or grilling them, you want to go ahead and salt your meat. Leave it out of the fridge for about 45 minutes to an hour. Now, you can actually salt it the night before, the morning you're going to cook it, but what this is going to do is going to draw moisture out of the meat. That salt is then going to melt or dissolve into that water, and it'll be reabsorbed into the meat. It helps to season the beef through and through, as opposed to just having a salty layer on the outside. So we're going to be serving with our ribeyes today a delicious chimichurri, which is an Argentinian herbal kind of sauce made from vinegar, oil, and a few different herbs. It goes great on any kind of beef, chicken, fish, old shoes, dead animals, pretty much anything. It's going to make it better. So it comes together super fast, and you don't even need anything other than a knife. So here's how. Begin by removing the top of one bunch of flat leaf parsley and chopping it as fine as you can get it. Go ahead and add that to a bowl. Next, you're going to remove the leaves from several stems of oregano. You want about 1.5 to 2 tablespoons worth if you're using fresh. If using dried, 1 to 2 teaspoons. Go ahead and add that to your bowl, and now smash and mince 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, depending on size and how much you like garlic flavor. Next up, it's time for some heat and some color. We're going to take the bottom half off of a red hot chili pepper, and by the way, I'm using the bottom end that doesn't have all the ribs and seeds. If you want the heat, go ahead and chop up the part that has the seeds and the ribs as well, but I'm going to go ahead and slice that thin and mince it up and get that into our bowl. After that, it's time to season with a little salt and pepper, and then we're going to drizzle in about 1/3 cup of olive oil and a couple of tablespoons of red wine vinegar. Keep playing with the ratios until the flavor is what you like. You may need to add more oil, more vinegar, or less of both if you want it to be extremely chunky. Let this sit on the counter for at least 10 to 15 minutes for all the flavors to get to know one another, and then it's ready to serve. All right, Uncle Rus has his steak in the sous vide. It's probably going to take, as he said, about an hour to hit the target temperature. This one's going to go in the oven at 250. Probably will take around the same amount of time, but again, after the first half hour or so, you want to just start checking it every 5 minutes with your thermometer until it's beginning to hit the target temperature range that you wish to achieve. When it comes to the reverse sear method, you're going to want to check the temperature, and you're going to want to use an instant read digital thermometer. There's all different types of these, but just get one that you can trust, know it's accurate, and reads very quickly. So whichever method you choose, whenever you take your steak out of the oven or the water bath, there's still going to be a lot of heat circulating through the outside and inside of the meat. So you want to let it rest for a good solid 10 minutes before you sear it. Otherwise, you're going to get a huge temperature spike from the sear, and you might run the risk of overcooking the inside. So the sear is, in my opinion, the most critical part of cooking the steak. It accomplishes the Maillard reaction, or that golden brown crispification of the crust. Without that, you don't have the same flavor and the same appearance either. In fact, this thing looks kind of gross right now. So it's been about 10 minutes and we are ready to sear. Now we're going to be searing the steak in a little bit of ghee, which is clarified butter. Any sort of high smoke point fat will work for this, but don't use just plain butter or olive oil. It's going to burn and brown and get bitter. Our pan's preheating. We want to make sure that this steak is as dry as it can be. Now if it comes out of the sous vide bag, it's going to be pretty wet. Usually the oven does a decent job of drying the surface, but you want to get all the moisture off of here. Any moisture on the surface is your enemy, because it's going to prevent you from getting that nice hard brown sear.
Gonna get our clarified butter in there. All right, 60 seconds. Here we go.
Yep.
Here we go. Gonna add our butter and our aromatics.
Basting the steak in melting butter and garlic and herbs dramatically increases the flavor of the final product.
if someone comes to plating, we could just throw it on there and eat it like cavemen, but I think we're a little more refined than that. So what we're gonna do is just a little simple cut for a little bit of presentation here. Just do inch or half-inch cuts, a little angle here. A little bit of our chimichurri on there. And now, wheat. So perfect. Fat perfectly rendered, nice and tender, juicy, warm. And the chimichurri is the perfect acidity to cut into some of the natural sweetness of the meat.
We may be a little more refined, but clearly not so much that we're going to bother to use utensils.
Why bother? Hey, so we had some doubts. We thought that maybe this guy didn't belong in the steak category. Maybe he didn't have what it takes, but we can throw those doubts out the window. This guy knows how to steak.
That's phenomenal. I hope you're not a vegetarian, and if you are, I guess wait for the next video. Until then, go make something delicious.